Welcome to episode number 279 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. You can find us by searching for us, Beyond Social Media Show. We are recording live on YouTube on September 6, 2019. A bunch of things to talk about after our summer vacation, including Alien Fest, by all means, audio SERPs, Moodvertising, AR maps, LEGOized friends, wanted couch potatoes, silencing journalists, lobbying for less, unpublishing, face scamming, eraser ads, and a lot more. And BL kicks it off as she does all the time with the best story of the week. BL, what do you got?
Well, good to be back for starters. We talked about the Storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us. That started as a joke, and it's planned for September 20th, and a couple of million people say that they're coming to it. And so now they're planning, ready for it, Alien Fest, which is going to be a 3-day festival with music and dance and hopefully aliens. So in episode 276, we told you about how this started as a joke by this guy, Matty Roberts, and his page is called Shitposting, and that did not give people the clue that it was that it was a joke. So now he and this college student, whose name is Brock Daly, started planning this real-life festival. And it's what they're doing is they're celebrating aliens, and they promise there's going to be surprise performances and art installations, and they're doing their own Burning Man, in the desert. And so there's an alien-themed inn owned by this woman, and on their website it says book solid for AlienStock. She said, but the woman who owns it said, I'm excited. How could I not be? It's a town that has a population of 50, and their welcome sign notes there's an extraterrestrial population as well as a human one, and there's no head count, just a question mark, and there's a Q&A page on the official website of the town that tackles insights like, are there UFOs at Area 51, and is there an Area 52? And so a notice on the town website warns festival goers, there's no gas, there's no store, we won't have cell service, and the internet will be offline, credit card processing will not work, so bring cash. So they're trying to make sure that people who show up have access to basic things like water and bathrooms and space. And he, dismisses comparisons to the Fry Festival and says that they're not looking to make a profit with AlienStock, and they're not charging entrance fees, but they'll have to rent a parking spot or a campsite from the town for $60 to $140. And, I think it's going to be a good time.
Never let a good opportunity go to waste.
Right? I mean, how could they not, But I mean, I'm tempted to go.
What I thought when I saw the headline is that they were hitting the stock exchange, AlienStock.
Aliens hit the stock exchange. That's hilarious.
So, mine is not exactly like that. In fact, it's not that at all. It's a new find, which I would have put it in cool new stuff, but I'm not, for a very specific reason. So this is a podcast. It's called By All Means. It is done by Allison Kaplan, who is the editor-in-chief of the Twin Cities Business Magazine, which has been in publication for 25 years, and they cover Twin Cities business scene here in Minnesota. The podcast just recently launched in April, and the description goes thus: What does it take to build a business, change an industry, lead with purpose? Twin Cities Business sits down with entrepreneurs and leaders who make business work in Minnesota and beyond. Learn the stories behind some beloved brands and ones you'll want to know next. Discover how they got started and gain insight to apply to your own ventures. So it is a podcast about entrepreneurship and business. And there's a lot of innovation happening in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul metropolitan area. I know Allison from way back when she was a columnist for the St. Paul Pioneer Press. And her first episode is delightful for me personally because she was a client of mine. I did some work for her when she launched her personal brand, basically, with AlienStock. So it was one client interviewing another client. Her first episode was with John Puckett, who is the founder of Caribou Coffee and a co-founder of Punch Pizza, for whom I did work for back in the day, too. So two clients in the same podcast episode was fantastic. She's a fantastic interviewer, natural. She's been doing radio for years, so she's a natural talker and a wonderful interviewer. Some of the other interviewees for her podcast include the founders of Retailers Everywhere, the vice chair of Great Clips and the founder of Magnetic Poetry. But the reason why I included in the best is that their sponsor for the podcast is the University of St. Thomas's Opus College of Business, which is a fantastic institution here in the Twin Cities. They have a great entrepreneurial school. I've spoken there as a guest lecturer a couple of times. But what she does is the sponsor of the podcast is a central part of the podcast. So after each episode, she does a talk with one of their business experts at the University of St. Thomas to discuss what they just heard in the podcast and how to provide the University of St. Thomas's experts own insights into that particular topic. And that, BL, as we've talked about in many episodes, is the way to do podcast interviewing. So it's part of the show. The sponsor is actually part of the show, not an interrupted segment for an advertiser.
Well, that's what we need on our show. We need to find a sponsor we can do that with. And we have a proposal for you if you're interested. Talking about podcasts, it's finally happened that Google has podcast playbacks in search results. I looked for us and I was unable to find us, but they added playback results to search. And that's a step forward in Google's podcast discovery mission. It puts native audio in Google search, which is really cool. So you can instantly play any podcast episode. And for now, a search phrase needs to specify podcasts for episodes to show up. But Engadget said that Google expects to update the feature to show podcast results even without podcast being a keyword search. Also, later this year, Google Assistant is going to start suggesting podcasts for you to listen to, and Google Podcasts for Web will let you play episodes through your browser without needing to download an app, which is a big deal. Not all podcasters are happy about it. The BBC objected to Google siphoning off their traffic, which was an issue that Facebook had with media from their own app. They say they need their user data to assess audience numbers, and I think they're right about that. Google hints that there'll be a truce with podcast producers at some point, that they'll add the ability for publishers to specify a playback destination, like a third-party website or app, so people can discover podcasts that may be exclusively available by purchase or subscription or third-party podcast providers. All of those at the moment would not be, but it's a really interesting and important development for podcasting and for search.
Right. So I did some research on this. If you search for Beyond Social Media Show podcast, you do find us in the search results for Google. But the point you make of not having to include the keyword podcast in your search eventually will, what Google has done is they're getting better at, they're actually indexing the content of audio files. Right. And so, as we've been saying all along, this is the frontier of content marketing. If you have audio content, Google is going to be able to pull out that content and answer specific users' queries based on the content of your podcast or your audio file. And so being able to optimize that and make sure that you get in the search results for those queries is going to be important as we move towards a more audio-centric information ecosphere. So a very, very important development, definitely.
Big first step.
Yep. So my next one is pretty cool. I came across this in my Instagram feed. I was just scrolling through my Instagram feed and came across it. It caught my attention for very specific reasons. So it was an advertisement that used cultural touchstones to capture and maintain my attention, basically. It was a clip from Michael Jackson's music video, The Thriller, and it had the music of The Thriller playing. So obviously, as my demographic is Gen Xer, I was that's going to capture my attention because that was part of my college experience, right? But as I scrolled through and watched the video of it playing, it was basically Michael Jackson's video of The Thriller, but superimposed into the video was the character Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy's movies. And I'm a huge science fiction fan, a huge fan of Guardians of the Galaxy. Groot is an endearing character within those movies, so they knew their target market on it very well. So I was paying attention because of those two factors, right? But Groot is dancing to The Thriller, doing the Thriller music video moves in the video, and then on top of that, jumps out of the frame onto the hashtags below the frame. So as we discussed in episode 277, there was a LinkedIn ad that had a tide of ocean water flooding over the frame of the ad. This is just another example, this most recent one with Groot, of ads breaking your expectation of how an ad behaves within the medium, in this case Instagram, of how you usually experience ads. And it's a fantastic example of how to capture and maintain people's attention for an ad by providing really compelling content for your advertisement. So we'll put a link to the video capture that I did of the ad in the show notes, so you can take a look for it.
That's so cool. Yeah. I actually went to learn how to do the Thriller dance. Every year in Manhattan, there would be a gathering of people, hundreds of people, coming to learn the choreography from it. It was wow. And it was so much fun.
That's awesome.
So Google has done something else that is pretty cool. Google Maps is rolling out its AR navigation. It's called Google Live View. So they're finally getting to this. They've been talking about it forever, and they promised it at their annual developer conference last year. The augmented reality feature launches, and it's compatible with iOS devices and AR Core compatible Androids. So when you're using Google Map for directions, you just navigate to walking and in the transit options, and then you tap Live View, and you see arrows and big street markers laid out on the real world in front of you, so you can orient yourself, which in my case will be a big help because I'm always lost, instead of spinning around in every direction like me. So Google says that you can use AR to better understand which way to go, and maps are in the real world to, the directions are placed in the real world to guide you. So as a side note to that, I mean, I seriously am always lost. And the other day I was in the park with Lucy in Central Park, and I got lost. And I was really lost. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get home? And then I ran into my friends, and my friends were like, how could you be lost? You're in Central Park every day of your life. Don't you know which way is south? I'm like, how long have you known me? Just tell me which way to go. So hopefully Google Maps will help.
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully it's an improvement, because I have used Google Maps I use Google Maps routinely for driving directions, and it's fantastic for that. I have it, in my car system with Bluetooth, and it tells me where to go, and I don't need to pay any attention. I just need to follow it, right? But with walking, I have noticed it is craptastic, because it takes forever. There's a lag time. There's a latency from where you're walking. It doesn't track as well as when you're driving. And so I used it actually when we went to Chicago, and it just would not, it was kind of frustrating because it would not keep up with where we were. So adding the AR component where you can actually see where you're going, hopefully will improve that a great deal. And you know what? If Google Glass had taken off, coupled with that, it would have been awesome, because now you don't have to be looking down at your phone, just see it through
Right.
your glasses, and it'd be fantastic. But alas, Google Glass did not take off.
Maybe the next time.
Yeah,
So I got an ad in my email for the best job. You have to be a man to do it. This came from Pockies, which are boxer shorts with pockets. And it's an Australian company, and they were looking for an American to spend one day on their couch to test one of their boxer shorts, and they were going to pay $500. The best job in the world. So the ad said, wear your own couch. When? A day of your choice. What time? 1400 to 1800. Salary $500. And we know this sounds weird, but our boxer shorts are fitted in such a way that you can comfortably sit on a couch without flashing your goods to the world. So what they want to do is they want to film somebody hanging out doing that, not flashing their world. Pay them $500.
well, okay. You know, if you're hanging out in your boxers, presumably you're not doing it with
On camera.
on camera, or in front of a window that is exposed to the world. So, all
Well,
right,
you know, but they have pockets.
okay.
So you can carry your phone around, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I thought
hey.
I thought that was hilarious.
Going from couch potatoes to cultural couches, or couches that you would recognize. Friends Couch, for example, will be featured in new form, according to Entertainment Weekly's Sydney Bucksbaum, for the 25th anniversary of the Friends television show. The couch and the surrounding environments are getting LEGOized. So the new Central Perk coffee shop set is going to be recreated using the Friends categories at their go-to coffee shop, all in Legos, for a Lego set.
LEGOized is so fantastic in their marketing.
They are.
I mean, obviously they planned that for a long time to make that happen, and you know, so cool.
So they're going to have 7 all-new Lego minifigures depicting the characters: Ross Geller, Rachel Green, Chandler Bing, Monica Geller, Joey Tribbiani, Phoebe Buffay, and even Gunther. There's 1,000 pieces in the complete Central Perk coffee shop recreation. Lego released a stop-motion animated teaser video of the set with all the characters, accompanied by the Friends soundtrack, of course, or theme song, which we'll put that in the show notes so you can watch that. The set is available now for purchase at any Lego store or at shoplego.com. But another great example of Lego marketing, of course, but nostalgia marketing as well. So 2 pieces of nostalgia. I grew up as a little kid playing with Legos, and my generation also is the generation of the Friends generation that grew up watching Friends. I wasn't a big fan. I watched a couple. I watched it occasionally, but you know, smart marketing.
That is, well, Lego is, you know, there's a brilliance to what they do. The NASA kit that they did. I mean, their cultural hijacking is so fabulous.
Oh, exactly.
So I don't have any more good news. I have a lot of bad news, but I think you have some more.
No, I don't. Go to it. What's the worst?
Well, this is just really sad. The Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Carol Cadwalladr is being sued personally by a millionaire who was implicated in her reporting about Cambridge Analytica and Trump and Brexit. And this is from a TechCrunch story by Mike Butcher, and a major player in the Great Hack documentary, which if you haven't seen, you really must, about the ongoing Cambridge Analytica story, was Pulitzer Prize-winning Carol Cadwalladr. And she's the freelance Guardian newspaper journalist who was the first to figure out the mess that was going on. And she recently made a very highly regarded TED Talk that went viral on the subject of the covert meetings between this businessman, Aaron Banks, a major Brexit campaigner and funder, and a meeting he had with the Russian government. And the TED Talk, Facebook's role in Brexit and its threat to democracy, has been viewed more than 2 million times. So her reporting led to Banks being investigated by the UK equivalent of the FBI, which is called the National Crime Agency. And he's being investigated about his ties to Trump, Russia, and the whole mess. So instead of suing The Guardian or TED, the outlets that publish the work, who would have insurance that would cover this type of suit, he filed a personal libel suit against her. And so she faces a possible $1.2 million libel fine and years of litigation. And she had to launch a GoFundMe to fight the case. And press freedom organizations called this lawsuit an abuse of the law to silence a journalist, which is exactly what it is. And she says, this isn't just an attack on me, it's an attack on journalism. This is important because it's a first and hopefully not a precedent-setting kind of thing, but if you want to contribute to a GoFundMe, that's a good one to do.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, this is no joke. There's the libel laws in the UK are much less onerous, or less. I mean, it's easier to sue somebody for libel than it is in the United States too. So that's a serious threat to her.
But the fact that he did it personally is really hideous.
Well, that's
yeah.
So not nearly as serious, but this is an issue that I just recently came across. So I have a client who had a Facebook page that was recently unpublished, quote unquote. So there's many reasons why a page gets unpublished by Facebook. Spamming, scamming, threatening, impersonation are among the most obvious ones, and ones that you would have heard about. But also there's some ones you may not have heard about, including a post preview. So here's a quote from Facebook's guidelines. When sharing a third-party link from your page, you must not edit any elements of the post preview. That's the headline and in the text below the headline that accompanies the link that you shared. Now, you can edit those things. So if they have a problem with that, then why not just lock that down so you can't edit that? One. Two, I've done that plenty of times to either clean up a headline that's got a bunch of junk in it, or clarify what I want people to pay attention to within the article. There's nothing malicious about that. But again, if you don't want that, then don't let people do it. Another thing from their policies is inaccurately tagged content, which they say pages, groups, and events must not inaccurately tag content or encourage users to inaccurately tag content. Okay, fair enough, but describe inaccurate. I mean, you don't, that's rather a vague description.
That's a wide swath.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, of course, Facebook doesn't provide much explanation as to why a page has been unpublished. They do say about admins. So your page, quote unquote, your page has admins that continue to go against Facebook policies. Make sure you only add admins that you know and trust to manage your page. Regularly check to see all the pages you manage and remove yourself from any pages you no longer actively manage. You can also check all the people who manage your page in the page rules section of your page settings. So what we figured out probably is the case in this instance is that they had an admin who had a work profile that they created to do all their Facebook activity for work, as opposed to their personal profile, which they use for their own personal Facebook use, which is innocent enough and common enough. There's a lot of people who do that. They don't want to mix their work and their personal Facebook profile, so they create a work profile that they use to administer pages. But this likely was the cause of the unpublishing, which is pretty unfair to the administrators. It's an innocent enough thing for people to do, and pretty unfair for Facebook to do, but I suspect it's an algorithmic thing. Unfortunately, my experience with Facebook, when you try to resolve something through their quote-unquote customer service, it takes forever, or it doesn't happen at all, right? So we're going to have to wait and see if this gets resolved, but I'll report back when and if it does.
My goodness. Well, I didn't put this in the show notes, but since you're talking about Facebook launched their dating app. And one of the things about their dating app, or it launched in the US, has been, and you can have like secret crushes. So someone tweeted tonight, boy, the data leak on that one is going to be lit.
Oh my God, yes.
Anyway, more bad news. There's just a demonstration of how not to handle a PR crisis. The U.S. Soccer League actually hired lobbyists to argue that the women's national team is not underpaid, which is completely ridiculous. This is from a Politico story by Theodoric Meyer. And the Soccer Federation hired two Washington lobbying firms to push back against the women's claims that they were paid half of what the men's team makes. And they brought in FBB Federal Relations and Van Ness Feldman to help convince lawmakers that the women's claims were inaccurate. So a spokesperson for the Molly Levinson, said they were stunned and disappointed that they would spend sponsor dollars and revenues to advocate against laws that ensure that women are paid equally to men. If instead they negotiated in good faith to enter agreements to advance soccer in the U.S., we'd all be in a better place. I have to agree. And so, that's what you don't do when you have a PR crisis. You simply, they could have just shut up, but that was not the thing to do. And, why does that matter? That matters because PR firms just do this over and over. They make this type of movement in crisis situations that is just, this one was terrible.
Well, I mean, even more so, you go beyond the PR firm aspect of it. The people who hired them made the calculation that the risk of a PR blow up, the backlash against hiring lobbyists to argue that there's no pay inequity, is worth the chance of them, winning. So that's it doesn't go unnoticed. I mean, I'm sure they thought they realized that there might be a backlash. They made the calculation that they'd rather endure the backlash if it occurs.
Then pay the women equally. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do you have another one?
I don't.
So Facebook again. Facebook said that they're not scanning face scanning your photos by default anymore. But when they explained how it works, it's muddled at the very best. So you really need to now take a look at your permissions, because it said they're not automatically face scanning photos of new users, but existing users better check their settings. So if you're not sure, you simply switch it on or off in the face recognition tab in the privacy settings. Facebook says one thing and does another over and over and over again, as just really distressing. And I turned out that mine were on. I turned them off. And I never turned them on, so they were on by default.
Well, who's a new user in the United States anyway? I mean,
what difference does it make?
Their expansion is not in the United States; it's in other countries. So.
Yeah, but it's just the wrong thing to do. So, talking about the wrong thing to do, Samsung launched their latest phone that has no headphone jack, and now they're busily deleting the ads that made fun of iPhone when they took away the headphone jacks. So this is from a Gizmodo story by Jennings Brown. And back in 2016, when Apple released the first phone without a headphone jack, a lot of customers, including me, were pretty miffed. So Samsung channeled that frustration into an ad campaign, and one of them was called Growing Up. It was from captures a longtime iPhone user's disappointment at not having to use a dongle. So he switches to Samsung and his life gets better. So they released many commercials over the years that trolled Apple and iPhones, and they mocked the Genius Bar, the fan culture, the screen size, all of that. Now they're ditching the headphone jacks. So they're busily deleting all the ads, but they're still there because what goes online stays online, and you can still find them in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, the better approach is to come up with a clever advertising campaign about how they've evolved or how other users, oh, this is wonderful. I don't have a headphone jack.
Yeah, they're busy, but what goes online stays online. We all know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that brings us to shiny new stuff, right?
It does. What do you got?
I have marketing examples. This is very, very cool. It's a gallery of real-world marketing case studies, and it gets updated every day, and it has a newsletter so that you don't miss the most recent updates. Very well worth your time.
That's cool. Where did they find the case studies?
Good
It's just
question.
like whatever's published online that they're researching.
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Cool.
Maybe people add them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that would be good to know because I'm creating case studies on behalf of clients. So if there's a
My
place,
guess is that you add them to the site.
cool.
Yeah.
Mine is this is from Life Hackers Megan Moravik Walbert, who writes about highlights 15 free MOOCs, massive open online courses. So these are basically free education courses. Um, among them are included, it's a great list, but among them are included Chinese for Beginners from Peking University, The Age of Jefferson from University of Virginia, appropriately enough, Creative Writing, The Craft of Plot from Wesleyan University, Job Success, Get Hired or Promoted in 3 Steps from State University of New York, Corruption, a timely subject, from University of Pennsylvania, Guitar for Beginners from Berklee College of Music,
Wow.
yeah, and Ruby on Rails, an introduction from Johns Hopkins University. So, very A-list institutions offering free courses for free.
How fabulous.
Yeah, I wish I
So,
had much more time to take all this.
yeah, really. So the one I have is SaaS Pages. It's a collection of the best landing pages with a focus on copywriting and design, and it's by category, and there's articles and screenshots from the top landing pages, so that's well worth a look.
Very good, very good. I don't have any politics, but
I have a project.
yeah.
Yeah, my article for a Young Presidents Organization, which is called Feeding the Soul, an interview with grocer Jeff Brown, who tackles food deserts in the Philadelphia area. Just a wonderful, wonderful man. He hires ex-felons to work for him, and he trains them, and he brings fresh fruit and vegetables. And I interviewed him. He's just such a lovely man, and it was a fun article to write, and it's on, I'll put a link to it. And then the other one I have is that my puppy has her own Instagram feed. And it's called Lucy the Rescue Puppy. And I learned in Central Park when I started telling people my puppy has an Instagram. Every dog in New York has an Instagram feed. So
They should all follow each other and comment on each other's content.
we are, which is hilarious. It really is funny. And yeah, her new best friend, whose name is Biscotti, has his own little Instagram. And it's hilarious. Anyway, Lucy has hers, and I hope you'll all take a look at it.
That's very funny. Cool.
So you don't have any politics?
I don't.
Well, I just have one, and it was a recent tweet while we were on vacation, but I had to repeat it. Chasey Handler tweeted, "We need to start naming guns after women. That way the Republicans will try and regulate them."
I love her. She's fantastic.
And I can't end the show without talking about Randy Rainbow's latest Cheeto Christ stupid czar. The best lines are, "You say you're the chosen one, and I know what you mean. Chosen by the Russians in 2016. You make no sense, bitch. Why are you still talking?" My tweet about that has been viewed like 200,000 times. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But he's so funny, and he's getting better all the time. And now he's on tour. Randy Rainbow is on a national tour, and more power to him because he really is a clever guy.
All right, very good. Practice makes perfect, right?
Yeah, really.
All
Okay.
right. So let's wrap this up. This is Google Ranking Factors by Spark Toro, which is the company by the former Moz founder, Rand Fishkin. And they surveyed more than 1,500 SEO professionals to come up with the top 26 ranking factors according to the opinion of SEO professionals. The top amongst them are the relevance of online page content, makes sense. Next is quality of linking sites and pages to that content. and then the use of query relevant words and phrases, domain perceived expertise, authority, and trust, mobile friendliness, exact match keyword use, and a bunch more. We'll put the chart of this in the show notes and a link to the study so you can get all the data on that at beyondsocialmediashow.com/279.
That's a good one, Dave. I'm going to look for that. So that brings us to the end of episode 279 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And if you want to find us, you just search for Beyond Social Media Show. We'll have links to everything we discussed tonight, including the videos and the original articles at beyondsocialmediashow.com/279. And I'm here with the always charming David Erickson, who is on Twitter as D. Erickson, on Instagram as DE Erickson, on YouTube as eStrategy, and he blogs at eStrategyblog.com. I'm BL Ochman. I'm on Twitter as What's Next. I blog at What's Next Blog. My YouTube account is What's Next Blog. And Lucy's Instagram account is Lucy the Rescue Puppy. And the show, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com, and Twitter at BS Media Show. And we'll be back next week. Same time, same bat channel.
Thanks for watching.
Okay, and I want to stop recording. Okay.